All right. I don't even know if I remembered how to do this thing. I guess I did. Maybe. We'll find out in a second. First of all, welcome everybody. Wednesday, November 26th. If you live outside of the United States, tomorrow is here, I'm sure you know, one of our biggest holidays. And I'm going to fix my microphone. It's a miracle that I'm here, by the way. And Brandon's here. David is here. And uh, I'm kind of here. So the first thing I want to know is, can you see and hear me? That's the first thing we need to sort out here. So I'm checking the comments. Brandon says, "Looking good. How you been?" With an exclamation point before the question mark. So very, very emphatic. I've been doing pretty well. How are you doing? And let me just move the comments over a little so they're kind of a little bit more. So there. Um, I appreciate you stopping in, David, to say hi. And sorry you can't stay, but I appreciate you doing that. Reach Films, what's happening? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you're here in the United States, Canada does Thanksgiving at another time. We do it tomorrow, and fourth Thursday of November, and lots of things going on. So I just wanted to do a live stream. It's been forever and ever. Kind of catch up with everybody who shows up and talk a little bit of shop, talk a little bit of turkey, literally. I have I have one smaller turkey in a refrigerator here in the barn. I have two others that have now been spatchcocked and are in the main refrigerator in the house. And I'm debating whether or not, I'm not a wet brine kind of person, but I'm um, debating whether or not I'm going to do a dry brine overnight, because usually you're supposed to do a brine for at least 24 hours. If you don't do it the right way, the moisture salt thing gets screwed up. But I'll make a decision after the live stream on that. Um, no, I did not smoke an apple pie. I don't know how you fit an apple pie in your mouth and then light it. Bad joke. Um, but I will be smoking at least one of the two larger turkeys. So I'll be prepping that up and putting that on the smoker in the morning, probably in the beginning at like 225. And then what I might do is, when that one has some smoke, I might put the second one on the same smoker, but then turn it up to like 350, 375, and it won't get as much smoke because of the higher heat on there. Um, and then the smaller one will probably just be a traditional turkey inside of the oven. I will stuff it, but not with stuffing, just things like herbs and lemons and oranges and, the normal salt, pepper, compound butter, butter. Probably going to go through, I'm going to say conservatively with the pies and the meals and everything else that we have going on. I'm going to say probably at least 10 pounds. There'll be 2 pounds of butter probably in the mashed potatoes, because we have 23 people coming over. And so that will be its own thing. And yeah, so here we are. And I am attempting again, but in a different way, to make the gravy ahead of time. The problem is that even when the birds are resting and everything else is happening, it gets a bit stressful, because at least the way we do Thanksgiving, we kind of handle the whole base level stuff. If you're new to this channel and you've shown up to this live stream, you probably think that this is psychotic, but this is kind of what we do on the live stream on this channel. There's a lot of tech talk, there's a lot of craft talk, there's a lot of video production, filmmaking talk, but food inevitably, especially the day before Thanksgiving. So, making the gravy when everybody else comes over, because the way we do it is we handle all the basics, right? So I just finished making homemade cranberry sauce, chunky and also smooth. Um, and then we make all the turkeys, we do the mashed potatoes. We do the stuffing, bake stuffing, which we'll make in the morning when the Macy's Thanksgiving parade is on. And, you know, apple pies. We kind of handle a lot of the basics, but then everybody brings their family favorites, the things that are strange, the green jazz, which is a lime jello with whipped cream, and the green beans, the green bean casserole with the canned onions on them. Somebody has to bring at least one can of Ocean Spray cranberry sauce just because it's like a thing. Um, so that's what's happening. But inevitably, people have to put things into the oven. We have to reheat things. And so that's where I'm focused. So even though the turkeys may have come out a while ago, it is pretty stressful to then have to get the gravy done right at the last minute when everybody's waiting to sit down and eat. So what I did today is, because I had 3 turkeys, I took the necks out. I took all the giblets, giblets, some people say. I say giblets, whatever is right. I don't care. Um, and then, you take some of the skin off of the turkey when you spatchcock them. That backbone goes in there, and you basically just olive oil, salt, pepper, and then you just do that in a tray, and then you're just getting all the goodness out of that. And then in a separate tray, leeks, onions, garlic, celery, whatever, and lots of herbs, and then you kind of combine the two, and that's sitting on the stove right now, just basically with aluminum foil. It's all been roasted up. And then what I'll do is I'll make a roux with flour and butter, and then I will strain all of the stuff out of what I just made today, and then I will add stock to it, and then hopefully I will get a really good gravy that's already ready to go tonight, which will take stress off for tomorrow. And then it's really focusing on the turkey, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes. I'm exhausted just talking about it, but here we are. And I was in the kitchen literally until, I'm not joking, about 8 minutes before the live stream. I hadn't turned on the camera. I hadn't turned on any of the lights. I hadn't connected to anything. Thank goodness there wasn't some, mandatory update on Ecamm Live. And now you're done listening to me about that. How many people? 23, I think. It's just, our kids, and then it's all friends from the area. So, that's got a couple of boyfriends also, which will be here, but that's basically it. So it's big long tables get set up tonight and all that. Brandon, you have 38 people coming to your house. That is insane. So even with the 3 of you, you've got 35 additional people. That's a lot of people. But it's exciting. New baby, first like family Thanksgiving at your house, which is pretty awesome. Um, it's great. So I'm happy to hear that you're doing that. So what else do we have? Keep talking to me. We've got a chat. I don't expect there to be tons of people coming to the live stream today. Hopefully a few more people will show up, but it's really just to stay connected and to let you know that I'm still here. As you probably know, if you follow the channel, I have been doing regular content. It just hasn't been the daily drop. So I've been doing this Hey Dad series with my son London, and we're going to continue to do that. In fact, when I'm done with the live stream today, I'm going to post today's episode, um, which is a recommendation on a webcam, and then just keep going. So I do have a couple of longer form videos in the pipeline, so I want to be, getting to that soon. And I did not. Oh yes, the Nexus G1 camera release. You're talking about the modded Blackmagic design camera, which has a totally different screen and layout and all of that stuff. Is that what you're talking about? I'm pretty sure it is. Um, it looks like they're sort of getting very close to that coming to market. Um, the only question I have about that camera, if that's the one I'm thinking about, Brandon, is whether or not um, they will do something, because it's a super 35 millimeter sensor that they're using. So it is a sensor that's a Blackmagic design sensor, but it's not the new sensor that they're using in some of their cameras, which is that RGB, is it RGBW? I guess. It's that crazy new sensor, which is definitely different than the other sensors on the market. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Electrolytes. I don't drink enough water when I'm doing stuff like prepping for a job or for Thanksgiving. So I'm drinking this so that I don't go down for the count. But that is the one. So we got the chat up here. If you are here at the live stream, as always, if it's your first time, just put in at the C47 before your question, if that's something that you want to talk about. I mean, we've had some stuff happen since the last time we've done a live stream. Um, what have we had released? Well, rumor next week, new Sony camera, really more of a mirrorless photo based camera, right? A7R5, right? Is that the rumor? I think. Um, we had the C50 come out. I'm sure there's some other cameras. We've already talked about the FX2 because that sort of was announced prior to the last time we did a live stream. Um, and yeah, so if you want to talk about any of the new equipment that's been announced, obviously Nanlux has now announced their 150C, their 600C. So those lights with their 8-color engine. Amaran just released the new Ray series, the 60 and the 120, and sort of a small, similar to the Zhiyun kind of, but with a full Bowens mount. And then they came out with a, is it a 330 and a 660C, and they have a new color engine. Still a little confused on the marketing thing on that because they say it's a 4-light engine, but it has 8 colors. I guess they're doubling up, but I don't really know how they're doing that. So I want to kind of understand that light engine a little bit. The Blair and the Blair CG engine, I understand. The Nebula 8 engine, I understand. But I'm a little confused by this Amaran one. All right, so Brandon, what have I been up to? A little bit of traveling. So since the last time we did a live stream, I've been to Pittsburgh, I've been to New York, and I just got back from, wait for it, Antwerp, Ohio. So we stayed just over the border in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that was for my client down in LA, Age of Learning. The other 2 jobs were helping out a friend of mine who was dealing with some stuff medically and asked me to come in and help produce and direct 2 pieces for a client of theirs. It's somebody I've known and worked with for about 25 years. So that was the Pittsburgh and the New York jobs. And just continuing to tinker and work on getting new work. And looks like there might be some education stuff I'll be doing in 2026 in the earlier part of the year, and just more stuff. Hey, Darren. So yeah, I mean, traveling's great because it usually means that it's production. It usually means I'm doing work that's going to help pay the bills. And all of these were sort of within the corporate realm. The 3 jobs that I did, kind of case study or, um, yeah, documentary style. So anchored with interviews and then B-roll and all of that stuff. Yeah, and it was good because I got to work with a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while. So when I did the job in Pittsburgh, my good friend Matt Porwall, cinematographer, predominantly works on feature-length documentary films. You can check him out if you don't know who he is. Um, and then in New York, I got to work with some of my friends from that company, Cirque Multimedia. And then for the job that I just did for Age of Learning, I obviously got to see my client. So a couple of people came out from the company, and then got to work again with a good friend of mine, John Romer. And by the way, New York, my really close friend Aldo Ray was on that New York job as well, doing sound, but also helping just overall with production. So I guess that's the answer to your question, Brandon. Um, Hoping some other stuff kind of kicks off in in December into the new year, because it has been a lot quieter this year than I hoped. And for a lot of people, if you're not sort of working in house with a stable salary job, it's been a tricky year. But you know, that's how it goes, and you just keep moving forward. What's everybody else been up to and working on? I'd love to hear about that. Obviously, even if we don't have a lot of people on the live stream now, there will be the replay. So if we want to talk about any new equipment, new stuff, please bring it up here in the chat and I can see any of your questions again. And at the C47 is usually the easiest way. We don't have a lot of people here right now. So just post a question or let's get a topic going. And we'll sort of see how it goes. We don't have to, just like with every live stream, run for the entire hour. If we kind of get into a groove on something and we're talking about it, I'm absolutely happy to do that. Um, and as always, when we do the live stream, even if we kind of digress and go back to talking about Thanksgiving and food and things like that, this is a place to come and ask questions. So if you have questions about pre-production, about production, producing, lighting, camera stuff, I'm happy to do my best to address those types of questions. Um, I guess while I'm waiting for somebody to post something, meaning Brandon, I I would say that um, one of the things that we dealt with in the Antwerp, Ohio job, um, house smells amazing here too, Darren. It's we're in full force, and it's my favorite holiday, bar none. I mean, I really do like Christmas time as well, and it's really special. But the difference is with Thanksgiving, it's about family, it's about food, it's about friends, and it's also about food. And so, you're not going out and buying uh, presents and things like that. It's just about that time. Um, don't send me any emails right now, Brandon. No. Um, so with the job in Antwerp, I haven't forgotten. We had been given 3 spaces to use potentially for our interviews, and we knew based on what was sent. One was a conference room with a giant table, which probably couldn't move. So that was kind of like maybe we could get one look out of there. Um, no, we have an Italian Christmas Eve always, Brandon. So Christmas Eve is always Italian. Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving. Don't mess with that. Traditional. And then Christmas Day is usually a little more British. So it's like we don't it's just a few of us, so we just do, immediate family generally. Standing rib roast, Yorkshire pudding, roasted potatoes, usually mashed potatoes as well, and then like roasted carrots and things like that. That's what we do. So we had 3 spaces. The conference room, maybe we get one look. One was a really cool space from the standpoint that this school had it. It was a kindergarten through high school, 12th grade. They had a room which is a whole green screen room, but not a good space for interviews. And then another room which was really cool. But we didn't have any idea where it was in the building. So we got there day one, about 7:30 in the morning, went into the building. It's a school, so it's easy to get in early. And that's when the call time was, I believe. Maybe it was 8 on day one and 7:15 on day two. Um, and I just went in the building by myself. So I introduced myself to the people that I knew I would be coordinating with at the school. We went and we basically scouted the 3 locations that were our options for the interviews. And it was immediately apparent that the third option, which was the one we were leaning towards, where we thought we could get at least 2 different distinct looks, was in the highest traffic area of the school, right when you come in. And then you go through double doors. And not only a lot of traffic in the hallways, because you have all of these kids from kindergarten students all the way through high school. Very unusual, but a cool space that way. But then when you go into this space that we were going to be shooting in, so much traffic going in and out of those spaces because they were, uh, that's sort of a central place, almost not like a lobby, but a way to get to other spaces. And the HVAC system, the air conditioning, and heating system was very noisy. So we would have had to deal with that, all the sounds outside of the hallway. Even if we could control the traffic going in and out of that room, it was just going to be a cluster. And then the amount of things we would have to do to flag and sort of deal with that was going to also be a pain. Oh no, coffee. What's happening? Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in from the car. So I asked our main contact there, would there possibly be any other spaces that we could take a look at? And I'll get to that in a second, Brandon. I know what you're talking about. Um, so we found one space which is a really cool space where they basically have it's like a multimedia space which has a whole set that they do content from every single day, and that was really cool. So we said yes, that if that's available, and it was. And then could we have another space that felt more like a classroom for the teachers? And we got struck gold right across the hallway from that multimedia room where we're going to do our first interview. Two classrooms that were given to us, one fully staging and crafty and stuff, and then the other one we could basically shoot the interviews. And that whole classroom was designed like Harry Potter. I mean, the teacher there had decked it out. We had to remove a few things. We couldn't have Dobby the house elf in the background. That didn't look right. The owl, so we had to move a few things around, but the teacher had done stained glass on the windows, and it gave it a little bit more than just a regular classroom. So we got two new locations. Don't give up. Just because you're being told as you go into a job those are your only choices, once you get there and you start talking, it doesn't hurt to say, are there any other spaces that we could potentially use? And you can tell them what your considerations are. So we made it work. It's done. I'm back home. There we go. Cool. All right. Ono's here, which is great. Am I hearing chatter about the movie industry shifting towards micro dramas? I know about these micro dramas, these vertical kind of soap operas that are 30 seconds each, maybe 60. Um, I don't think that the movie industry is shifting towards them. I think that it's like when reality television came about, it became big. And I think micro dramas will. Um, to me, what would be far more interesting, it taking that, it's not really a genre, right? Because I mean, it is if you say it's only drama, but it's a format overall, not just in terms of aspect ratio, but just overall, it's a format. And it would be interesting to see if that it kind of reminds me of serials back in olden times when you would go to the movies. You would have these serials, and there would be a part, and then you would have a cliffhanger, and you come back to see the next Saturday afternoon matinee or whatever, and then it would continue. So it's kind of like that serials kind of concept. Um, but what if we looked at other genres for that? So you looked at dark comedy, romance, I guess. Um, but really less cheesy soap opera ish, a little bit more substance, but then figuring out whether or not you need to have a cliffhanger every 30 to 60 seconds and how that is the deal. Yeah. So there you go. So I have thought about it, whether or not I pursue anything with that. Who knows? All right. What else we got? I'm feeling like this might be a 45 minute podcast. Really depends what kind of stuff comes up here in the chat. So if you've got something to talk about, I'm just checking here. Is there anything? Has Brandon sent me an email? Don't, Brandon. Um, I've kind of been anchored in the house just cooking all day for the most part. I do have a little bit of work to do, but I'm just doing a very, very, very quick scan here to see if there's anything while I'm looking for still the same. What a score from Brandon. If there's any more questions that come about. All right. What else has been going on out there? I mean, we're kind of done with the whole trade show season, except for down in LA in the beginning of December, first to second week of December. Band Pro does their annual event, and there's some things that happen in and around that. Camera Image is done, right? I think just this past weekend, as far as I know. And so now I think everybody's sort of in that mindset. We've got whatever projects we're working on right now that have to get finished by the end of the year. I've got some stuff that I'm definitely going to be doing over the next few weeks. I'm still working on some stuff for Canon. And so hopefully make some really good stuff with that. Um, and Ono is smoking a turkey will start around 1 a.m. Really? For a smoked turkey? Oh, I guess you're gonna cook it slow the whole time. Because generally, what I'll do, because it's poultry, and I find that it's a lot different than a brisket or something like that, or a pork shoulder or pork butt, is I usually smoke at like 225. I have 100%. So I have a pellet smoker, but what I have is I think it's Royal Oak is the company. They make pellets that are 100% and nothing but charcoal. So they're charcoal pellets, which I really like the taste of, um, like that smoke that comes from charcoal. I've always loved with chicken and other things, and so I'll smoke for about an hour or so, but I'm spatchcocking the turkey, so it will cook it in about half the amount of time. So I would be concerned about smoking for that long of a period of time, but I'm interested to hear sort of what your approach is. And then again, I'm trying to debate whether or not I dry brine tonight or not. Some people will say you have to do it for at least 24 hours. I think that's absolutely true for a wet brine. I don't know for a dry. So when I'm done here, if I feel confident that I'm going to do that, um, all of the turkeys have come out of you know, their their packages, and those turkey necks and everything have already gone into the oven and roasted down for the gravy. Um, so, oh no, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that. So, yeah, there you go. Other things that production wise, anybody want to talk about? Or are we all, at least here in the US, in a just like focused on on Turkey Day? Yes, charcoal pellets. And one of the things that I will do, and if you have a pellet smoker and you can get those, I know you can, if you're here in the States, you can order those charcoal pellets, the Royal Oak ones, from Lowe's, and I believe also Home Depot. In fact, usually I go and pick them up. This time I had it shipped for free to the house and I got 3 bags. Um, if you take, let's take like a 80/20 ground beef, make a half-pound burger. Don't pack it down. I mean, I love making smash burgers, Oklahoma burgers, all that kind of stuff. um Josh, production question. So it's not a large softbox. What's to my left here, though I don't have a second camera to show you, is a 6x6 book light. So I have, what do I have? I think I have the Nanlite 300B2 pushing into Ultra Bounce. and then that's returning through Magic Cloth, and that's what the key light is. And then I just have a Ultra Bounce floppy over here, which is giving a little bit. I could put something over here to catch some of that key, but I decided to leave it a little bit moody. And then over my right shoulder is just the Nanlite Pavo Slim 240C, and that's just, I mean, that could be, you know, a gazillion lights, and it's just giving a little bit of kick overall, and that has a little grid on it. And the reason, Josh, we're not getting a lot of spill on the background is because I have a floppy cutter that is flagging the light that's coming from the book light. So if I rotate that floppy just a little bit, you can see that now I'm getting a little bit, sorry, I'm getting a little bit more return here, counterclockwise, and then I have some control in terms of how that is happening. Yeah. I could, if I put a little piece of foam core or something over here, be pretty easy to, hold on. Still here. Still here, kids. I don't know. I just picked up the first thing that I had here. If I just took a piece of whatever, I mean, this is just corrugated plastic, and I just put that up here, I get enough return from that 6x to kind of get rid of that moody strip that's on my head over there. Got it. Oh, 4-hour dry brine, you said. Oh no. So that's enough? Is that enough for it to basically, like draw out some of the moisture and then take in some of the salt? I think it is. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. I've also seen, I've seen people, it's kosher salt, and is it baking powder? I think it's baking powder, not baking soda. And they've used that for a dry brine. And then afterwards, like a compound butter, which I will do under the skin and stuff like that. Darren's cheating this year, went with pre-smoked, awesome butcher meeting place in Hillsboro. Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty cool. Pre-smoked. Is it fully cooked and then you just warm it up? Tell me about this. Not that I'm going to do it. There you go. Oh, 48-hour dry. Okay. I was about to say 4-hour. I was like, okay. Well, there you go. Yes. 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 All of that stuff. Okay. How do you heat it up, Darren? So you've got this pre-smoked turkey. I'm assuming they cook it to 165 because they probably have to for safety reasons. And then when you get that bird home and you're ready, do you take it out of the refrigerator, let it come to room temperature for 2 or 3 hours, and then warm it up in an oven? What's the deal? And tell me about the skin, and is that supposed to wind up crispy? I need to know. Anybody? Bueller? Spicoli? All right. I'll keep my eye on the chat over here. So I think we'll go for about another 10 minutes, and that should work out pretty well. Any other production, not that there have been many, production questions for this live stream? And hopefully I can start to do these a little bit more regularly. I do like doing them, and I like connecting with everybody and being able to answer questions and stuff. And of course, talking about food, forget about it. So what do we have? Any other questions? I'm still waiting to hear from Darren on how this turkey gets warmed up. And there you go. My video, Josh, is coming from, in this case, digital cinema camera. It could be anything. I mean, this is a C70 from Canon. It could be an FX30 from Sony. It could be any basically large sensor camera, Super 35, full frame. Um, though surprisingly, the um the new webcams, like these 1-inch sensor webcams and these 1/1.5, really have a pretty nice look. You know, they do feel a little less organic, but the quality of picture has now come up considerably, especially for the 4K ones. And if you've got one right on your computer, I mean, you know, my camera's a little bit further away, uh, behind the teleprompter, so I can just look directly at the screen. But those little webcams from companies like Insta360, OBSBot, um, I was trying the Holylam one, but it was like it wouldn't even let me launch the software without agreeing to their terms of service. And these terms of services now are like TikTokable in terms of what you're giving up. I mean, we won't even have a conversation about Sora 2 and what you're giving up if you upload your likeness to there, but that's for a different day. Um, I'm listening as I'm green machining stains out of my couch. Look, the day before Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter what your list is and what you have to get done. The list just keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer. I had a list of 5 things I need to do, and I knew there would be other things that I have to do as well. And literally, I've done one of those 5 things, and I've done 50 other things. And then when we're done here and I upload my Hey Dad episode, it's just going to continue until I go to bed. You know, and then I get up and it goes on and on until everybody at 2:30 shows up at the house. And then sort of chaos ensues for a couple of hours. And then when we all sit down to eat, that's when I check out. That's it. I'm done. Everything's over for me. You know, when I've gotten the food on the table and it is sort of a buffet style for Thanksgiving. We don't do that for Christmas Eve because it's Christmas Eve. That's a sit down meal. That's the Italian one, Brandon. But once everything's out and everybody's in there, you know, and they're going to get all their stuff, then that's it. I'm out. I check out. I just want to make sure maybe I do a couple of runs to make sure that the gravy is hot for everybody, maybe top it off or something like that. But once people are eating, I'm done. I don't do dessert or any of the other stuff, and that's kind of my thing. So, yeah, and then I think the plan is to get the tree on Friday because the kids are home. And there you go. Do we play any party games or trivia? Looking for ideas. Not usually on Thanksgiving. Some of the other holidays we do. I'm not a huge games person. I mean, I can get into it and it can be a lot of fun, but it's not really my thing. And by the time that part of the evening comes about, I'm usually toast because I've been cooking since 6-7 o'clock in the morning, which will be no different tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Josh asking about specific aperture and frame rate. I mean, the aperture can change. Generally, with a good autofocus system now, if I'm doing stuff like this, I'll usually be at like an f2.8. Usually, sometimes I'll stop down to like a 4, maybe a 5/6/8 split, and I would do that if I'm shooting educational content. Because if I'm here at the table and I'm shooting at a 2.8, well, obviously I want this to be in focus. But is something in my hand going to be in focus? No. But if I stop down, then I can handle that. And then frame rate. I mean, this stuff is usually 23 976 or rounded 2398. But it just depends, but that's generally what I do. On the pre-smoke, thank you, Darren's coming back. It is fully cooked. The instructions are take it back to 140 in a 300-degree oven about 15 minutes per pound. Interesting. Question on that. Do you also take it out and let it come to room temperature first, or the idea is to put it in a preheated 300-degree Fahrenheit oven and do it that way? I'm just curious, learning here. Um, Uno is a good game, especially if your name is Ono, Ono Uno, Uno Ono. But it is. That's a good one. And then, if it's all grown-ups, you can do Cards Against Humanity. If it's kids, you can do, what's a similar one? It's like Exploding Kittens or something. I don't know. I don't play a lot of those types of games. And then some people will do card games. Trivia stuff is fun and stuff like that. But I haven't done any of that in a while. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Uno with 38 people. That would be something, wouldn't it? All right, so we're going to wind this one down. It's been great to see everybody. Any last minute questions? Any questions for me or anything you want to go over? I mean, sometimes people will sneak one in towards the end of the live stream. I'm okay with that. If it's an interesting topic or something that we want to talk about, I'm all for it. Otherwise, we'll kind of wind down and then everybody can get ready for if they're here. We get a lot of people who also come from other countries and stuff watching this. But if they're from here, then their mind is on the Turkey Day. Whether you're traveling and visiting family or friends, or you're the one having the guests come over. Anything else? I'm ready. Well, Darren says on the turkey, the instructions are not clear. I think you'll figure it out. I mean, if it's pre-cooked and it's been in the fridge overnight, my feeling, Darren, would be to do one of two things. Take it out, let it sort of sit for an hour or two, and then put it into that oven, or maybe put it into a cold oven and then turn it to 300 and then let it do that. Because the thing that you can run into is, especially when it's been in the fridge like that and it's pre-cooked, is you don't want the inside to be cool or cold and then the outside is warm. I'm sure it'll work out. Hold on. Hello? Yeah. Yeah, but you're from the 80s, so yeah. No, I can't talk to you right now. Okay. Yeah, Josh. Well, the phone technically works if I had a landline. It will take copper, but I just got it for the prop. And I debated between a rotary and touch tone, but I went with touch tone. I thought I was kind of like being a little too 70s if it was rotary, though I did have that, when we were kids. But those were left over from before. And then in the 80s, we started getting these touch tone phones. All right. So glad to see you. Same, Brandon. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Darren's here for the food talk. I'm always here for the food talk. And have a great one, everybody. I will see everybody soon. Doors are always open. Contact at thec47.com. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy Thanksgiving in the U.S. if that's where you are and you celebrate that holiday. And hope to see everybody soon. Take care. Bye for now.